Hello. In this video, I'll explain every single move and idea and introduce puzzle-solving rules in order to teach you how to use Puzzle Rush as a tool to rapidly improve your calculation abilities. Not only that, but I will teach you how to choose the best move in any position by understanding and applying imbalances and general principles. We will get a lot of practice in this video using this method, so be prepared to learn a lot today. You can grab a piece of paper and write all this down to help you if you'd like. We're just going to jump into the puzzles right away now. Thanks for giving me your time. Now let's put it to good use and begin. So this is attempt 6, and we're going to try to get a score of 40 with 0 mistakes. Puzzle Rush. So forcing moves first. Checks, captures, threats. That's how we solve the most basic puzzles. First like 24-ish, first 12. So this is the first check I see, and that's actually just mate. This is a common pattern. Since the pawn here blocks the king from going to that square, then the queen is always mate in this pattern. So this is the first check, also a capture. Rook blocks, rook takes. This is a back rank mate, mate in 2. Takes, takes, takes. So we're just up a rook. We've got a rook and a knight, they've got a knight. So since this piece only has 1 defender and we've got 2 attackers, that means we're going to win the exchange pieces. You just got to count, basically. It's basic counting in chess. This is mate in 1. Because this rook defends the square, it's called a battery, the rook and the queen. So mate in 1. Rook here. It's mate in 1, of course, because this is covered by the knight. This is covered by the knight. These two are blocked in by the pawns of their same color of the opponent. And then these 3, 4, 5 squares are all covered by the rook, so mate in 1. Another battery, because this bishop defends the square, so queen cannot take, and the king will be in check with no escape, so that means it's mate. Don't go here, because then queen will take our piece. We've got a rook that attacks that square, but the rook also attacks this square along with this whole file, right? So queen here is check. This is forced. Then queen takes knight, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, mate in 3. So first you gotta push him to the corner so that it removes the defender, right? Most of the tactics, you add an attacker, or you remove a defender, right? So get the king to move, take the knight, and then take the queen for mate. So this rook defends that square. So mate in 1. Mate in 1 again. This is a kind of similar pattern, a little different. So this time, this is the square that prevents the king from escaping, and this is just mate with the queen defended by the bishop. Interesting one here. Okay, I think I see it actually now. So, take the queen. Rook has to recapture, or you lose material, of course. And then this check right here attacks this square and the king. So that's going to be a fork, double attack, attacking the king, attacking the rook. So the king is forced to move away because they can't block, they can't interpose, they can't capture the queen, so they have to move. And then we just win the rook. So 1, 2, 3. Winning advantage in 3 moves. 6 points, but we're down 2 pawns. 3 pawns. So 3 points there. Just love it. So this is the first capture I see. But then rook takes queen. Knight takes queen. And then the reason this probably doesn't work. Rook takes rook with check. So we would lose a rook. Okay, we would lose a queen and a rook for a queen, a rook, and a bishop. So actually that does work if you calculate through all that. And if they just move their queen somewhere, then we have to move our queen too, because we don't want this rook to capture our queen. But it can, because we're going to, in this one variation where we take their queen with the knight. So yeah, we lose queen, rook, gain bishop. Trade those, gain the bishop. Love it. So this again is defended by this rook here, so queen can take this without the king taking. Mate in 3 again, because first the king moves to the side, then we sacrifice the queen, put it on the same file as the rook. It's forced for them to recapture because it would check, and then we recapture finally there with mate. It's mate in 3. Again, it's also called back rank mate. So this is, I think it's going to be a nice pattern here with the knight and the queen. So queen goes here, king moves to the side, and then we go knight here. You always want to bring in more pieces into the attack. You don't want to just check with one piece over and over. So then king would go here, and then this square would be covered by the knight. So queen here is mate. Mate in 3. So first we got queen captures, f7 check, king d8, knight e6 check, king c8, queen captures c7, checkmate. So again, we got this nice coordination between the rook and the queen. Note along the diagonal, good thing there's no, always make sure there's like no dark squared bishop or queen that can, or a knight or anything that can like cover that square as well. Looks like another mate in 3, back rank mate. Oh, no way, it's back to back rank mates. This is the back rank right there, so. Actually, yeah, this is mate 2. Nice pattern there. So this is forced because the rooks cover these 2 ranks, and they defend each other, so king can't take. King down. These 2 squares are covered by this pawn, because the pawn's attacked diagonally, captured diagonally, so king can't put itself in check. Then, since these will be covered by this rook here to, what is this, f7, that's mate in 2. This doesn't win, I don't think, but it's like the first forcing moves we see. The capture. There's no checks. So checks, captures, threats. So we can't check. We can't capture. And what's our threat going to be? Do we... There it is. Yeah. It's like I said, you either remove a defender or add an attacker. Here we're going to add a second attacker to the knight. And there's a tactic here called a pin, right? The knight is pinned to this rook by our rook. So if the knight moves, then we take the rook. So that's nice. Just go here. Knight moves somewhere, then we take the rook. Or otherwise, they do some random thing, and then we just capture the knight. Rook recaptures, king recaptures. Okay, so they didn't go here, but they went there because it's check. Smart. I failed to recognize that move. Which isn't very difficult, because I just looked at this. I could have looked at all 8 moves, because those are the only options. 8's not very many. And chess, you know. So, we'll take the knight with the pawn, and then we'll trade the rook. So we'll still be up, what is this, like, 4 pawns? Be 4 points material? Okay, well, see this check. This capture, sorry. No checks, really. So captures and threats. So this capture threatens to take this bishop. This bishop is undefended right now, right? We call it hanging. So after knight takes here, if pawn recaptures, bishop captures this bishop and wins that. So they're forced to capture our bishop first, but then since this knight attacks this square from here, then we can recapture the bishop. So we're just winning the knight. It's also a very common pattern we see with some variation sometimes in puzzles, right? So rook defends that square again. So this is mate in 1. And then this is blocked to stand, so. Okay, so this is mate in 2. Queen here. Bishop blocks, forced, and the queen takes with that same pattern we saw in, I think, the first puzzle. These are the squares that are covered by the queen, and this bishop won't be there anymore. We captured it. Our king's going to be here, right? Boom, boom, boom. So this is all covered by the queen. And then this queen normally could block that rank, block the check, interpose it with the check. But this rook here, it pins the queen to the king, so the queen cannot move because that put the king in check. So it's going to be main 2. Okay, so we've got 2 options, but as we know, checks are usually more powerful than captures and threats. So let's go for this. Force them to move and lose castling privileges. Then what would we do? It's not clear follow-up. Well, actually, here we go. Queen captures pawn on e4. Check. So these 3 will be covered. This will be covered because of the pattern of the queen. And this escape square will be covered by the bishop that just put it in check. So this looks to be a mate 2. So no knights can block. Sometimes I forget to look out for that. Amazing. So this is the first check we see. This is covered by the queen. So if king here, queen here is mate, defended by the rook, they'll be here. There's another pattern there, right? This pattern, if the king is in the center and the queen is on this corner, then these 2 are the only escape squares, and those are covered by its own pieces, so it's gotta be smothered in there and be mated. So that means after rook to g1 check, we've got 2 different options. And actually, again, if king here, then queen would be able to take this bishop with check, defended by the rook, and the king would be forced to go down, and then queen would go down here, again defended by the rook, and then would cover all these 6 squares, so the queen would be mated. So that means we've calculated and we've eliminated the best option for white after this move to be here. But then, fortunately, since we've got this queen on this long light square diagonal from A1 to H8, A8 to H1, then this is going to be mate. We can bring the queen back because it's on the diagonal, is what I'm saying. So that's awesome. They can go to any of the 8 files. And the rook's going to be on this file. And the queen's going to be on this one. Rook will be cover this one. King will be here. So that's going to be mate in 2. Yep. We could have just played the move and by principles and process of elimination, we know it's the best, but like I said, we're going to calculate as much as we can, improve that ability. We're going to spend as much effort as we can, and that's really going to help us calculate and notice blunders and tactics in our games. So here's another tactic. It's fork, double attack, putting the king in check and then winning the rook. See, nothing of ours is hanging except the knight, but that will be defended by the bishop. There's no better checks. I don't think actually, look. The king would escape here. These are covered by the pawns. These would be covered by the knight. These are covered by the queen. So, the bishop. I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry. Boom, 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 and boom. So then, do we have a mate there? Do we have a good move there? We could do knight here, putting them in check. This would be covered. So we could win the bishop, and it's attacked by the rook and the knight. Would it not just be better to? Yeah, okay, maybe that's right actually. Because if we were to go bishop check, then the king could attack our knight, and then we'll take, and of course the knight will still be defended. Okay, yeah, then rook takes the bishop, and then we can actually just escape with our knight to a safe square. So you really have to evaluate one, which of the 2 options gives us more material in the end, and then also you have to evaluate the position and the imbalances, the nuances, and to determine which one will be better to play in. So honestly, this seems, wait, if I go here, this isn't possible. So maybe first here and then here. See, that's what I always do. Most of the time when I get puzzles wrong, I mess up the move order. And I didn't spend enough time calculating. So actually, we can get mate instead of just picking up the rook. I'm getting 2 net poison material because it's another pattern, sort of ish. We've got these 2 bishops and these diagonals. Yeah. So in order for this pattern to work, that means 2 squares in a straight line next to the king. Like the escape squares, they have to be covered for other reasons other than the bishops. This one's covered by this knight here. This one's covered by its own piece, pawn. So it's usually you see it more often like when they're on their home rank. It's usually not on the side of the board, so that's why I didn't immediately recognize the checkmate pattern. But fortunately, we got it, so that's blocked. Okay, wait, so what about here? There's that as an option, I suppose. Instead of just going to the corner and getting mated. But then it looks like we've got a knight, pawns, and this is covered by the knight again. These are covered. No. This. I'll be checked. These are covered. Check. So defended by knight, defended by pawns, defended by queen. So that's mate. Yeah, mate and 2 either way. Amazing. Because these pawns here block out the safe squares and let us check, and these pawns here block the king in. Wait, what about this square? Is this what it? How do we just go here? Yep, because this is defended by the knight once again. So king will go back to this last safe square. No, yeah, the bishop. Yeah, the bishop will still see it actually. So that is mate in 2, I believe. If he goes here. Oh wait, so it's 3 options, not just 2. But yeah, we just put him in check with the pawn. There we go. This is another very common pattern we see like every puzzle rush. What's gonna happen is block with pawn, knight takes, and since if they did nothing about that, we'd have a powerful attack, right? It's called the discovered check. We move the knight somewhere, and then the queen sees the king. Let's check. So we can probably usually just take something valuable like the queen or some minor piece at least. So let's try it. Okay, so note the battery and the possibility there, but also note the knight would take that. Very important that you count the defenders at the square. It's king defends and knight defends. Assuming this is the A file, and the pawns are going this direction. Right. It's not noted on chess.com like it is on Lichess. Okay, so how about this? Remove the defender tactic. Knight is actually forced to take because this is the only. Or actually, wait. Yeah, because the knight blocks in the other escape square. So once in this position, that's covered by queen, that's covered by rook, and that's a check. So knight is forced to take, and then we've got this queen captures pawn on h5, check. So king goes down, force, not quite mate. How do we bring our other rook into the attack somehow? Or bring our queen into the attack? So we're giving up a rook for an attack, but the attack doesn't give mate, does it? So I could be wrong. There's no way this is going to be right, because the same problem. So you gotta assume that's going to be correct. We got this. Oh, I guess we just went back to knights. And we'll have ideas to somehow bring our rook in, like this way. And then attack the queen, and then once it moves, then we go queen check. So I suppose that's right, even though it's not extremely powerfully winning. Oops, almost pressed the wrong move, even though I calculated the right one. But you always gotta be paying attention, taking your time. Okay, I missed it, of course. Let's go over the missed puzzles after Puzzle Rush for like 60 seconds. Well, actually, I just usually do it during Puzzle Rush. So let's keep it going like that. 'Cause I'm really curious what the heck the right answer was. Oh, did I really just forget about this move? Come on. It's supposed to consider every legal move, every check, every forcing move, and then a few others if necessary. But at the very least, you need to consider every forcing move. I didn't even recognize that was a check, so I just didn't spend enough time on this puzzle, unfortunately. Which is always the reason I get them wrong. So after that, then it's mate. Then it's mate in 3, I think, right? It's like a sort of ladder mate pattern with the 2 rooks on the ranks. So, um, this queen check forces the king to go down again, defended by the rook. Then queen takes pawn, sacrifice, because when knight takes and rook takes with check, that is mate, because this rook covers the other rank. Okay, let's keep going. So we can't get to 40 with no mistakes. Again, always make a mistake around 25, but we can still try to get to 40. Still learn some more. We got this check here. Then this is possible. We don't really have a follow-up there, so I suppose we just win that rook. Make sure we don't have anything on us. We do. If we were to take that rook, it wouldn't be forcing, right? So they'd have a free move, and they would go here, defended by a bishop, check. But it might be one of those puzzles where we actually just survive the check, the attack that we allow. Because there's no follow-up checks at all, because bishop. So they just probably would take the pawn. So yeah, I don't see anything else. Like, there's just no follow-up after this. And this is forced. And there's no dark squared bishop, but there's a queen. Okay. Can't be making those mistakes again. Pawns can't block. So actually, that is actually just mate. Yeah, that's why that was like a hint to us that this queen move is so powerful. We can't just capture a piece and win. We have to actually mate, especially in positions where like you're down a bunch of material. Another example. So let's just main 2. The pawns cannot block because the knight blocks the file. And this is a bishop opposite color. Oh, and the queen can't go there either because. Nice. Oh wait, knight blocks. I forgot to mention that. I didn't correctly identify that. And of course, now we got a pawn block after the knight moves, but still mate. Just extra steps. Easy puzzle, surprisingly. That's just mate in 1 because there's 2 attackers, 1 defender, and that's the queen or the king. I'm sorry. That's the big boy. And queen defends the square, or bishop defends the square for the queen. Very exciting. So this check, I guess this would work too, technically, because this escape square doesn't need to be covered by the queen like usual. The bishop covers it. But let's just say we go there, and then we've got this rook blocks, and this knight's pattern here. Bishop, check. And then king is actually forced to move because the rook cannot take because of the pin. The rook is pinned to the king by our queen. So after the rook does nothing and the king moves 1, then the queen takes rook, mate. Actually, the knight would block, but the bishop still attacks that square, right? So queen takes that next. Just extra step there. I finally recognized. So this doesn't work because the knight takes, right? Queen there doesn't work as knight. Why does this not work? Like, usually, Unleash has puzzles, it's usually, like, sometimes even, like, 3 correct moves. But just like on Puzzle Rush, there's usually only 1 correct move. So I'm really... Oh, is it... Because here, the queen defends the bishop. I suppose. No, but either way, the rook is pinned to the king. Let's just go here because we think it's more principled, closer to the king. Yeah, I don't understand because if we went here, 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 That's impossible. Oh, okay. So there, in that case, king would take the bishop. A little hard to see there, but if you've done all this puzzles a lot, then you just you remember the pattern, unfortunately. And like I said, by principle, you figure it out. You want your king closer to you want your queen closer to the opponent king. Um, and just because you want another defender on the bishop, right? Just in case you forget something like we did. So, yep, just mates. Queen takes, knight blocks, queen takes, defended by bishop. Again, this might be a tough one. No obvious, very powerful checks, captures threat, or at least checks the work. Well, this might call for some imbalances, analysis, and calculation. I don't know, it's not really positional. Puzzles usually aren't positional, though. They usually are tactical. But so they usually use imbalances for positional positions, but positions that require positional play, which means no checks, captures threats, small improving moves that improve your pieces. I don't know. This is a powerful pawn. It's going to promote. We know that, right? Could promote to a queen. So if we somehow take that rook, get 3 free moves. Sometimes that's just what you got to do. Like imagine if you had a bunch of free moves, like in a row. You could figure out like the weaknesses of your opponent. That's always how we figure it out. You got to find the weaknesses and attack those. And sometimes imbalances does help identify weaknesses, but like I don't know, these are covered by the bishop, so that makes this look like make it happen. So say if we got a rook here, then rook takes, pawn takes, promotes to a rook or a queen, and that would be mate. So I say we could capture we could go here, threaten to capture the bishop. So that is a threat. It's a forcing move, not a check or a capture. Interesting. Yeah. Then if say bishop moves somewhere, that'd be annoying. Well, actually, no, that'd lose because after bishop takes, rook takes, pawn promotes, rook sacrifice, and rook takes. So after this, say either here or here. Say here. Actually, then we could go here, and it's still again threatened to get on the back rank. So can't go here because of bishop. But then what is that threatening? It's a random move, but that's actually a pretty good move. But they're threatening to get a queen too, aren't they? So say, well, then the bishop would take there. So yeah, that's not good. And we need this rook to defend that pawn. So I'm thinking, like bishop sacrifices don't work. Do we have to move this rook somewhere? Do we? Oh, okay. Captures. There's no checks. But what about this capture? Jeez, shouldn't have been took me that long to see the capture there. Bishop takes rook, and then bishop takes rook. So we get 2 points net material. And then also we capture this pawn, because after they recapture, it's our turn. We capture that pawn, then they capture ours, but it's more important just to prevent them from promoting theirs. And also we're attacking the bishop, so technically they can't take our pawn yet. They actually have to bring their bishop back somewhere, and then we could bring our rook back and defend the pawn, right? So bang, bang, boom. Go there, go here, something like that. Nice. Oh, so they did give up the bishop for the pawn. Why would they not just do that? I guess they just want to get rid of our threat, get rid of the pawn, because otherwise this rook is not going anywhere all game, and you're losing anyways. So I guess technically the computer says the computer is able to calculate this is actually a better position for black, but even though they're going to lose anyway, they should just resign. But So first check I see, escape square covered. Looks like they've got 3 options because this is covered by the king. And that's covered by the king, that's covered by the king, that's covered by knight. This is too much. Okay, well, if king up, so if here, the king up, this knight move forks the king and the queen. So we got that out of the way. I mean, obviously this is going to be the correct move, right? Most likely, because there's literally nothing else we could do at all. Except, yeah, literally, this is captured by the knight. But let's practice our calculation. So the other 2 options, this is fork, king and queen. So how about this? Nope, that's impossible because of rook. So in reality, there's only 2 squares king can go to. So say instead of there, say here. Rook here, king here. Oh, that's still another fork because this pattern here, these 2 squares next to in a diagonal right next to each other, that's a pattern of a fork. So note these patterns on the diagonal with a space of 2, and on the diagonal with a space of 0. Those are knight forks patterns. I think there's 6 total patterns you can learn, but that's for another video. Okay, so we've got check here, and that's just mate because king covers these 2 escape squares. I might actually get to 40 for the first time this series if I really lock in. I've only got to like maybe 35, 32, 30, yeah, probably around there, 34, somewhere like that. So we did make one mistake, which we shouldn't have. It was a relatively easy puzzle, but we can get to 40 for the first time on attempt 6. Next time we'll have to try to get 0 mistakes, level 40. And after that, if we can do that consistently, we'll try to go to 45, 50. My all-time is 57. Really like that. Check here. This is covered by the queen. And this is covered by the queen, so this is forced. And then we could go knight here, defended by the queen, so the queen can't take, really. And then king would be forced to go here, because that's covered by queen. And then we take the queen. No, bishop defense. We're not really winning anything. So we would win the rook. I suppose that would work. This is forced. Is there a better check? Yeah. So we could go here. Force that, trade queens, and win the rook with the knight. But I think it's actually a mate. Rook defends this square, right? So queen goes here, and it's this similar pattern we saw like puzzle 15 or something that I mentioned is similar to puzzle 1. These are all covered by the queen, and this is the opponent's own piece, so they're blocked in. So that is mate in 2. The knight's here, defends this, queen goes there. Queen covers escape squares, and the knight covers the other, or the queen, opponent queen covers the other escape square. Mate in 2. Yeah, 40 really shouldn't be too hard, honestly. We just gotta take our time. Look, this is a mate in 1, right? This is a really nice mate. I've won a game only about one time I can remember back in high school against the over-the-board opponent. It's really fun. It's totally surprising. But yeah, the mate in the diagonal. This is also like the shortest checkmate. I think it's what, 3 half moves? Pawn, 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 bishop. Yeah. Or no, yeah. Black can get checkmate in 3 half moves. But yeah, this is just mate in 1 with the queen. Just gotta make sure nothing attacks the square, nothing can defend and oppose. Nice. 1800 level. Note my puzzle level is 2000 on Chess and chess.com, but Puzzle Rush does go above that. And it is solvable because usually this just is like tactics. So, I don't know, this is like the first move I think about. The check, forcing, recaptured. There's forces and recapture as well. But that's not doing much. There's no follow up. I think we're just gonna develop our pieces, right? This is kind of a bad position because our pieces aren't developed. How about this move? We want to develop our queen, right? We can't go here because this rook. Um, and this knight, we take advantage of the fact the knight is pinned to the king by our rook. Right, just take note of this. Moving the knight is impossible. So, opponent cannot take our queen with the knight. So this is possible. They can't really attack our queen, so... But what can we threaten to do, really? There's not much we can threaten after that. Just a cool move. Yeah, this might be one of those ones where it's like a positional means are required, and because we already talking about imbalances, right? We're behind in development. That's one of the 6 imbalances that relate to piece activity. I mean, we've got king safety. Ours is kind of out in the open in a way, but theirs is kind of out in the open as well. So I think we're actually safer because we can just hide here behind the pawn. They can't hide anywhere. So then we've got this king safety, material development, pawn structure. I suppose ours is better with the pawn structure because they got doubled pawns, which leads to weaknesses. Both of those can't be defended by any other pawns. So then materials, usually material and piece activity usually end up being the most important imbalances, and most of the amazing moves we see are done by sacrificing material for very nice piece activity, especially like gambits. So how do those help us? We just know we're behind in development, so we feel like this is bad because there's no follow-up to attack the king. But even if we do this, what's the follow-up? What could they do? They could attack the rook, maybe? Then what would we threaten? So we threaten this, I guess. Threaten a queen check with the queen. But then... okay. So queen can't block that check with the queen because rook takes knight and the queen is pinned to the king. So lots of pins involved in these higher level tactics we see. So, okay, so say queen here, queen here, queen here. Okay, yeah, then they're forced to move the king, and then we just capture this knight, because once our queen is here, we've got 2 pieces attacking this knight. So I think I figured it out. By principle, we figured out the best move is here, because there's nothing else that works, that does anything useful. And then we figured out what the end result is going to be. We're going to capture this knight, because we're going to have 2 attackers, and they're only going to have 1 defender. So here, say maybe here. It's always harder to determine your opponent's move, right? Check. King move. Then queen. Nope, that's a rook. Rook takes knight, defended by queen. Let's see if it's right. It's wrong. After all that thinking. At least we get some practice some calculation. There's no way it's the first move I suggested. Because of this move. That's so obvious. Come on. Rook. So if that rook wasn't there, then what I said would be true. It would be the best, right? Probably. Unless there's something else I missed. But this is just pinning the queen to the king. So yeah, that is should have tried to find out why that move might work instead of just completely forgetting about it. Because I saw this and I stopped calculating, right? So one of the 3 key rules is calculate as much as possible. So now you know the importance of following my 3 key rules. And let's continue. Try to get to 40 with our 1 remaining mistake allowed. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it looks like the pin motif is the same one that is going to win us this puzzle because queen here is check, um, covers those, and if bishop takes, then the opponent would put their own king in check, so that's illegal. That's mate in one. I love this. I think we should be able to get it. Get to 40. Except here we got it. Endgame, difficult, usually. I think this one is actually easy. Once you learn like the basic in-game principles, most of the in-games, especially like 2000 rated puzzles and below, in-games are usually easier than the other general types of puzzles. So basically, we just need to make sure our king is at the square before they can get their pawn there defended by the king. And also like note the square of the pawn, but that's not really relevant. Actually, it is because our opponent's outside of the square of our pawn. So every time we move forward, they're still going to be outside of the square by one move. So we're forced to move our pawn forward. Unfortunately, that does work. It does mean we're winning because if the opponent pushes here, we can't go here because the pawn attacks that, but we can go here. So boom, boom, and then king is not able to reach the pawn in time. So we don't. He also doesn't really want to take the pawn because most likely the king will try to chase our pawn. So we don't want to take their pawn. We want to promote ours. So we only take their pawn once it gets to the promotion square. And if the king does try to get to the pawn, then we have to take the pawn before the king gets to the pawn in order to defend it. Love it. Yep, so we're forced to go here, and this is the box. The king's way outside the box. So, yeah, that's just going to win. We can afford to block them from promoting as well. Love it. Okay, tough looking one here. Actually not, it's mate in two. So this is covered by that pawn. These are covered by that pawn. That's covered by the king, as is this. So yep, this is just mate in two, and there's no way to defend it because the king is stuck. If they try to get space, move their bishop, then we still go there. So mate in two. Just ignore the queen and the rook, because right, it's not forcing. We can move in checkmate, so might as well. Don't know about this one. Queen check, first thing that comes to mind. King moves forced. We've got a knight we could bring into the attack, and a rook we could bring into the attack. Kind of like the knight move. Because if we were to able to take this pawn somehow, then we'd be threatening mate on this square. The knight defends that, and queen could go there. Well, yeah, I don't know. If we do that now, the pawn just takes. And we got the queen that can take it too. How about a backwards knight move? Threatening mate, but the bishop defends it though. Nope. That's so okay. So maybe just assume this doesn't work, right? We got to look at every move, even though we also could be ending our calculation prematurely. But we can switch between the lines. You calculate. It's the modern method of calculating. So just say here instead. But that's not a check. But they don't have anything good. Yeah, they don't have anything forcing. So. I guess the idea would be bring the knight here, bring knight here, the knight defends the square, threatening queen takes pawn mate. But at that point, the king would have time to run away from the corner. So if queen got here, We have to have queen go back or something. Like go back here and then block this out, or maybe rook takes pawn, pawn takes. But then they can move the bishop and have the queen help. But I'm really thinking this is the right move, even though this is a check. What if take this, pawn takes. Yeah, we just don't have anything, so I'm gonna assume my ideas about the knight and queen mate, or the queen and rook mate, are gonna be correct. Thinking this has to be the move. Process of elimination. That check, rook capture. It could go here, but it's not threatening anything. Here's check, but that doesn't do anything. There's no follow-ups. So I think this might actually just be better because this pawn can't be easily defended by the opponent. You know, I guess they could go here. Bishop defends the square. So we really don't have time to move our knight there. Here. But we also got this rook move. So yeah, I'm just going to assume that works and stop calculating maybe. But then that does block that. But then can we move the queen and like capture this pawn? Nope, because the rook would. Queen would also see that. Because no, if we had a rook here, this pawn would be pinned to the king. And also, if the bishop does go here to defend this square, then it's going to be kind of smothering itself. And if we get these two squares and checked, then we mate. So like bring the queen back. Here. Then we take this. Nope, can't take that. Yeah, we can't take that because this pawn's here. Oh, if they move this pawn forward, we take this. That's starting a mate. Yeah, I'm just gonna go. I've calculated enough. That's wrong. Oh well, we got closer to 40, but we're still not able to do it. The 2,100 rated puzzle almost. It's kind of difficult. I'm assuming it's my first move, as always. And then it's like, nope, it's not that. Not that. Nope. And nope. So what in the heck is it? What's the point? I might as well use a hint, right? No. Come on, dude. That's not even that difficult. I just would have spent more time on that line. Like I said, just like the last puzzle I got wrong. Or something, right? Yeah. Just gotta think longer. And again, it's also a pin. It's like a relatively easy tactic to understand. After the knight takes, pawn cannot take because the pin, the rook on the king. So knight here, be threatening mate here. Let's say after this, king moves, try to get to escape. Well then, queen here. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. I just don't know the follow up. Analysis. I guess that's the only way they get out of it. Yeah, so the king here, queen here. It's not winning for white. So it actually would be better. H8 is mate. There we go. That's covered by knight. That's covered by queen. So we see just a queen sacrifice. And what's the follow-up? I guess this. Check. F4. Check. Block. And the knight. Then they can take our knight. No. Rook captures. Knight. Rook captures. Pawn takes. But we got a rook in the corner still, so we're up 6 points because queen versus bishop. Okay, then. We're getting better every day. That's what happens when you train chess every day. So I'm gonna make a video about visualization training and my entire training plan to try to become a titled player within the next couple of years. Reach 1,500 within a couple months. Reach 2,000 before the end of the year. So consider subscribing, turning on notifications, and learn from my daily Puzzle Rush and Rapid games. Thanks for watching.